Hello, everyone. We can see some folks beginning to pile into the virtual room of sorts. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mike. I'm also joined here by what will be our MC for the evening in Mucinetta. We're both admissions counselors here from STU, from St. Thomas University, if you're not caught on to the acronyms just yet. If you're just getting familiar with St. Thomas, this is a great opportunity. Mucinetta will be covering a lot of high-level important things that are kind of nice to know about St. Thomas, where we're located, how we do things a bit differently, our programs and everything in between. And then we're also going to have a Q&A later on. So if you do have any questions over the course of tonight's session, we'll have plenty of time to address those, as really about half of tonight's session is going to be dedicated to having your questions answered, whatever stage of the process you might be when it comes to applying, being considered for admission, looking at any options or anything like that, understanding programs, Fredericton, the campus, the city for that matter. There's more than enough opportunities to kind of ease your way into exploring St. Thomas a little bit further. So yeah, with that, for people that are just getting in here, we will be getting started here in just a moment's notice. We're going to let a couple more people join in and we'll get started that way. But otherwise, as we wait for people to continue to join us a little bit, Mucinetta, is there anything you kind of want to share as the MC about your STU experience? Give everybody a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so like Mike said, thank you guys so much for joining us. I know for some of you, this might be like pretty later on in the night, so we appreciate you guys joining us. That's awesome. But just to tell you a little bit about myself while we let people come in, I actually see a lot of familiar names. Shout out to you guys. So essentially, I graduated at STU here in May in 2022. And I did a double major in human rights as well as criminology and criminal justice. So if you're thinking of that career path, just like ask me questions, feel free to do that. But I also now work as an admissions counselor here in the admissions office. So specifically, if you're in the territories of Africa, the Caribbean, as well as in Canada, you will most likely be talking to me. And like I said, I do recognize a couple of names here. But yeah, so I went to STU and I came as an international student. So I've literally been in your shoes before and I can relate in so many things. So again, when we do have the question and answer session, feel free to just like send your questions and we'll definitely answer them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mucinetta. I noticed that too, actually, a couple of familiar names, whether it's been students that we've met with virtually one-on-one or even in person now that some travel has been allowed back in the nature of the world of recruitment and admissions. If I happen to meet you in a virtual fair too, it's great to have you here too. That being said, Mucinetta brought up a very good thing about time change too. So thank you very much for the people making the time to join us in general, but also a specific thanks, excuse me, to anybody that's in the later hours or earlier hours of their day. We appreciate having you here. But nonetheless, I think our attendance is finally beginning to kind of slow down a little bit on people getting in here. So with that, Mucinetta, I will step out of the session for a moment. We'll get started on your overview about St. Thomas. And then folks, be prepared to have your questions ready and we will get to those during the Q&A. But otherwise, Mucinetta, we will get started with the info session and we'll see you in a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mike. So yeah, welcome everyone. Like we mentioned, we really appreciate you guys joining us. This info session is really for you guys to get more information on St. Thomas. So whether have already applied and you're waiting for a decision, or you're kind of trying to figure out if you are interested in STU at all, this session is really for you. And I think one thing that I appreciate about having these virtual info sessions is that you actually get to hear from the people at the university. So I remember when I was applying to STU, I didn't attend as many as I wish I could have to be as informed as I could be about STU. So good job to you guys for being so proactive and really going to these sessions. So today we're going to cover program exploration. We're going to talk about applying for admissions. We're going to talk about scholarships and bursaries, as well as optimizing your STU experience. So again, as you mentioned, we're going to have a Q&A at the end, so you can feel free to even start sending your questions as we're kind of going through the slides. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm an admissions counselor. So that's literally what I do. So I help students, in your shoes who are thinking of coming to St. Thomas, whether you have questions and so on. So how to get involved in today's session. So your camera and microphone will remain off for the duration of today's session. However, you can still interact with us by the Q&A section, which you'll see at the bottom of your on your computer. And then if we do not get to your question, please feel free to email us. We will leave an email at the end as well, where you can actually get in contact with us. This is so too if you're, looking to have one-on-one conversations with an admissions counselor, you'll be able to just send us an email directly. So yes, you can either send in a Q&A in the Q&A box, or you can just send us an email. So yeah, for those of you that don't know where we're located in Canada, and we're basically on the East Coast. So the bottom right corner is where you can see us. We're a small city with a really great charm, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But for example, when I was coming to STU, I had no idea where it was located. I just kind of applied. But yeah, just if you're like me and you have no idea where we are, this is where we're located. It's a really great city and a very great province as well. So to get into studying in New Brunswick, which is a province that we're located in, it is a very safe and diverse and welcoming community. So we do have a lot of newcomer communities as well, to support our international students. And then the degree that you're going to get actually is, we consider it very portable and affordable. Because it will literally take you wherever you want to go. So, a couple of my peers have gone to graduate school, some have gone to Harvard, some are going to law school, and some are working, in the government, or have even started their own business. So that's what we mean by, it's portable in a sense that, you're not just limited to whatever you study. It really opens the door for you to do a lot of things, and you're not limited to one career path. There's also a lot of opportunities for immigration for students interested in staying after you study. So we do have an international office where Perry will send you a lot of information on how to pathways to immigration, where literally it's dedicated for international students because the province wants international students to stay. It is a high quality life and education, and we're located in the Maritimes, so you will have access to other nearing provinces, which are really cool. And 75% of STU graduates are in New Brunswick 1 year after graduation. So a lot of students do tend to stay a little bit after they've graduated, because you will see this for yourself, but you will literally create a community that, you want to stay part of it for a little longer after your degree. So as I mentioned, we're a small town, but we do have a big city spirit. So in as much as it is a small and very beautiful town, it does have the big city spirit. You will still get the same experiences as you would in a bigger city. And actually, fun fact, this is what it looks like in the fall semester. So the colors are really pretty and really beautiful, and you'll get to experience that as well. And then to talk a little bit about Fredericton, which is the city we're located in, it's actually the capital for New Brunswick. And there's a lot of music festivals that happen, arts and culture, and a lot of walking trails that you'll have access to. Your STU tuition actually includes a bus pass that is actually very convenient. It'll be on your phone. You can literally go from one side of the city to another side of the city, and you'll be able to just get around easily. A little bit more. So the startup capital of Canada, Fredericton is considered the startup capital of Canada. So a lot of, students who are interested in maybe going into business or economics, which Sebastian, who's going to be joining us a little bit later, can speak on a little bit more. A lot of students will, get placements and internships or even jobs, because we do have a lot of partnerships with a lot of organizations that are in the city. So by the time you graduate, you will have a lot of experiences having applied what you're learning in class. But I'll talk about that a little bit later on when I talk about experiential learning. So we're actually Canada's only public university that offers liberal arts. So and exclusively dedicated to liberal arts. So there may be other universities that have liberal arts, but what makes us really unique is that we solely focus on liberal arts. And that's really amazing. So if you don't know what liberal arts is, I also didn't know. Essentially, it's a focus on humanities and social sciences. And we'll get into kind of what's, the programs we cover. So 10% of our international student body comes from 35 countries, which is really amazing. You'll get, and this is one way STU is really diverse, from our international students population. And you'll see this too when you're on campus, you'll get to learn from different cultures. This was very true when I came to St. Thomas. I was exposed to a lot of cultures that I was not exposed to prior to coming here. And it was really a learning experience, just learning life and seeing life from a different perspective than you were used to. And actually a cool thing about STU is our classes are kept at 60. So you'll never have a class that's more than 60 students, the average being 26, but you'll never have more than 60 students in a classroom. And this really allows you to foster relationships with your professors, but also your peers. And your professors will actually get to know you a lot better. So this is a story that I'm very comfortable sharing with you guys, but the year that COVID hit, that Christmas, I was not able to go home to my home country. And I actually had one of my professors offer and invite me to have Christmas lunch with her family. And she had only known me for one semester because I'd only taken one course with her. But she extended that offer to me because, it really shows how STU really takes care of each other. And because we have small classes, you're able to make those personal relationships with your professors. So all our full-time professors hold, 99% of them hold the highest degree in their field. So if a doctorate is the highest degree that they can attain in their field, they will have it, which is really great because it shows you that you are learning from the best. You're learning from, professors who are really passionate about what they're teaching you. And just a pro tip that I can give you, always go to office hours. So professors will have hours outside of class time that they will, just keep available for you in case you have any questions on assignment or a test coming up, or you're just like not sure if you're liking the course. They'll have office hours, and I really recommend going there because they want to hear from you. They want to talk to you. They want to hear what you think. And this is a great way you can definitely connect with them. So yeah, explore social sciences and humanities. And that's essentially what, as I mentioned, that we're offering. So these are the programs. So you have your humanities and then your social sciences. They're just different color coded. But essentially a great thing that I wanted to mention about our degree at STU is that you get to literally design how you want it to be. So for example, I liked criminology and criminal justice, but I also liked human rights. And I combined the two and I did both. You can definitely do that. You don't have to feel like, you're constrained to just doing one path. And another cool thing too is that during your first 2 years at STU, you're not required to know or declare your major just yet. So that those 2 years really give you some time to explore all these disciplines and decide on things that you're really interested in. And you do that by going to your classes, speaking to your professors, hearing their thoughts and all that stuff. And then it's only at the end of your second year that you declare your major. And fun fact for me, when I applied to STU, I applied and I said I was going to do psychology. But then in my first year, in my first semester, I took criminology and human rights. And I was like, oh, never mind, I'm doing this. So there's really room for you to change your mind within those first 2 years because it's a time for you to kind of explore all these programs. We also do have a Bachelor of Social Work for students. So you'll be able to either directly go into the Bachelor of Social Work. And this is a field where a lot of students really are interested in. So you can apply after your first 2 years of doing your Bachelor of Arts, or you can apply straight into the program, essentially. So yeah, and so now we're going to talk about experiential learning, which is really at the heart of what we do here at STU. We really try to ensure that students can apply what they're learning in classroom because, after you graduate, obviously you're going to have to apply what you've learned. And what better way to actually start while you're learning it. So yeah, we have a lot of internships as well as career options for students. So 100% of our internships are either paid and it's always above minimum wage. in New Brunswick, and these, or you can either actually get a credit for it. So you either get paid or you get some form of credit towards your degree, which is great, because we do want to recognize all the hard work that you're doing. And then, so the way it kind of works is that we have internships for both the fall semester, the winter semester, as well as the summer semester as well. So you can kind of decide when you want to do an internship. Students are usually matched with an organization that really interests you. So you can go to the to the experiential learning office, have a chat with them, kind of talk to them about your interest, and then they'll help you find an organization that really resonates with your interest. So for example, for me, throughout my degree, I worked at a law firm because I am hoping to go to law school one day. And so I did an internship with the law firm, and experiential learning office gave me credits for my hard work. So we also have a lot of exchange program for students. So if you're looking at, going to another university abroad for whether a semester or 2 semesters, we do have a lot of partnering universities in these countries. You can definitely explore that. We also have travel study, which only goes for about 2 to 4 weeks that you can do. So if you didn't want to commit to a full semester, there are options to do 2 to 4 weeks in certain programs. Yeah, so now I'm going to get into student life on campus, which is something that's obviously might be at the back of your mind, like, oh, like what is campus like? What's campus student life like? How am I going to fit in? What am I going to do when I get there? So to start off, living in residence. So I recommend, if in your first year even, to stay in residence. That way, you're actually, I guess, positioning yourself for success, because you will receive a lot of support in terms of it being your first year in Canada, but also your first year away from like maybe living with your family or your support system. Residence is really designed in a way that you will receive a lot of support system throughout. So we do have residence advisors, which I was one myself. And essentially, these are students who are trained to support you throughout your time in residence. We do have 3 residences. So we have Harrington Hall and Vanier Hall, which are both co-ed and gender neutral. And then we have Holy Cross, which is an all-female residence. So these are the options for residents, and you'll be able to apply after you've gained admission, essentially. So yeah, I kind of mentioned that we do have supports here. So we do have quite a lot, an extensive list. So we support students both academically, but also personally, because we recognize that you're not just a student. So while we'll support you with like, a peer tutor or the writing center to help you with your assignments and papers, we'll actually support you mentally as well. So giving you counseling with the mental health coordinator or international student coordinator advising you or just helping you, as well as employment support as well. So we really do try to support students all around. Yeah. It is a very supportive community because we're such a small community. We're very tight knit, so everybody kind of looks out for each other. Even given the example that I gave of my professor inviting me, that is something very, very common to Stu, and I've seen it in so many ways. So there's a lot of support throughout, just in the community. We like to say that you're not just a number at Stu, and really you're not. People will know you by your name and not your student number. So we'll have a lot of, events, resources and supports available for students throughout your degree. So I've told you all of this and you're wondering, oh, okay, you've sold me. How do I become a student? Essentially, there are just 6 steps for you. So the first one is obviously to get to know Stu. So as I mentioned, regardless of like what stage you are in terms of like your research, whether you've applied, whether you're just kind of like trying to figure out what to do. Essentially, the first step is to kind of get to know us. And you can also meet with an admissions counselor. I am one of 6. So you can meet with either one of us, and then we'll be more than happy to just talk with you, go through your application. The next step would be to apply essentially. So our applications opened on October 1st. And I know some of you here have already applied, which is great. But yeah, so the next step would be to apply. And then you've been accepted. Congratulations. That's amazing. We're excited to have you here. So the deadline to then apply for scholarships will be March 1st. So after you gain admission, you then move on to applying for scholarships and bursaries, which I recommend applying for both. And then the next step would be applying for residence, which is right after. And then finally, you'd confirm your enrollment by May 15th, and as well as register for your courses. And at every step, we kind of send you reminders to do all of these things. So don't feel, feel like you need to keep on top of this. But yes, for sure, definitely do that. But yeah, we will definitely try to help you every step of the way. So as I mentioned, I'm on a team of admissions counselors, and we're more than happy to kind of meet you as well as you go through all these steps and when you need help. So yeah, just to talk a little bit about scholarships and bursaries. So this is, as I mentioned, you apply for it right after you have gained admission. And I think in the application portal, which some of you might be familiar with, it will give you the next steps and it will show you to apply for scholarships and bursaries. And like I said, I recommend applying for both. So the first step was obviously when you're accepted, and the second is to attend our webinars. So we will have separate information sessions for scholarships and bursaries, which I recommend going to. Otherwise, you can also meet with an admissions counselor. And then finally, applying for it. So the deadline is March 1st, like I said. So make sure you apply as soon as possible. So as soon as you get your admission decision, apply. And what to include in it is just your resume, and the personal statement letter, letter of reference, bursary letter, and updated academic transcript. So yeah, last but not least, I would like to mention virtual tours. So when I applied to STU, virtual tours were not a thing back then, and I didn't get to see campus before I actually landed and got to Fredericton. So this is something I really recommend doing, just so you can actually familiarize yourself with what campus looks like, the services that we offer, going in further detail. And the cool thing too is that you actually get to speak to a campus tour ambassador, which is current students. So we're going to speak to two of them in this Q&A session, but you'll get to meet them, you get to ask them their questions as well, and you actually get to see campus and have a little idea of what campus looks like. Unlike me, who just showed up and had no idea where everything was, but yeah. So see yourself, in person. So we'll actually keeping this, we're going to have a lot of events coming up. So the one that I definitely want to highlight is November 19th, which is a virtual full open house. So, this is going to be happening very soon, 2 weekends from now. I recommend definitely joining. You can just go to our website and do that to register, kind of like the same way you registered for this event. I recommend attending because you get to hear from professors, current students, even staff and faculty who offer a lot of resources. So again, you'll get to hear from, the actual people behind the services that we, saw in the previous slides. So you actually get to interact with them as well, which is really great. But these are also important dates to just keep in mind, like March 1st, as I mentioned, for scholarships, and October 1st being the day that applications open. So definitely, if you're thinking of STU, I'd recommend applying because applications are open. Like I mentioned, definitely apply. So to apply, it's just stu.ca /apply 2023. If you're having any troubles and you're not sure how to find this, definitely send us an email. We're more than happy to send you the direct link. You can just send an email to admissions@stu.ca. But again, you can just visit our website, which is just stu.ca, and it should kind of help you navigate through it. Yeah, so now we're going to go ahead to our panel discussion, which is going to include myself and Mike. But also we're being joined by the lovely Tisha as well as Sebastian. I'll just kind of give it to you guys to introduce yourselves.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mirjanetta. And well said. Absolutely. There's a lot to cover when it comes to getting to know a university, especially when it might not be so close to home. So yeah, wonderful job. And just following kind of the order of the slide here, I'll certainly introduce myself, and then from there we can pop down to Tisha, and then following Tisha, we can go to Sebastian. And then from there, we certainly have a number of questions that have come in. So bear with us as we try to direct as many questions as possible to get some answers. That being said, again, if there isn't any question that is answered of yours, or if you need something followed up on outside of this session, then by all means, feel free to shoot us an email, keep in touch that way, and we'll be sure to get back to you on that. But otherwise, yeah, I guess I can introduce myself first, and then before we go to Tisha. But yeah, as you might realize by now, I'm the digital admissions counselor here at St. Thomas. If you've already attended previous virtual events that I have been on, good to see you again virtually, even though I've never seen you before. But nonetheless, I am kind of a unique character here on the team, at least tonight in particular, because I am the only admissions counselor. I'm the only person in this panel here tonight that is actually born and raised in New Brunswick. So I might have a little bit of a homebody bias, to put it that way. So if there's any questions about that, the university, Fredericton, New Brunswick, opportunities of that kind, I can certainly take them on. But nonetheless, we have a couple of current students here too. So Tisha, feel free to introduce yourself and kind of give everybody a little bit of a sense of your background and what's going on with you too.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Tisha, and I'm a second-year student. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm currently doing a double major in communications and public policy and digital media, and I'm doing a minor in business. So I'm excited to answer any questions you have. So it's nice to meet you all.
And hi, everyone. My name is Sebastian. I'm a third-year student here at St. Thomas. I'm currently majoring in economics and minoring in Italian, business, and most likely political science. Got to decide on that one. But yeah, feel free to let me know any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Perfect. Thank you. In which case, in no particular order, we'll probably be alternating between asking questions and directing questions between Muchinetta and myself. So I'll start with probably one of the first ones here, and we'll try and answer as we can go along. But we actually have a question from Muchinetta. So Muchinetta, I will ask you the question, and then once you're kind of done with answering that, you can certainly allocate a question to somebody or round table or whatever you need to do. But we have someone wondering, and it probably makes sense if they caught a little bit of your background. Have you still been able to keep in contact with family and friends while dealing with something like a time change?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't think it's something I even considered when I was moving. So good job for you to even think of it right now. But definitely the first few days were kind of hard in terms of like figuring out like the time zone difference between here and my home country. So I think it's about 5 hours difference. So it was just a matter of just getting into a routine, like calling my parents and my family on weekends when I was free. And, during the week, just texting them. So there's really great ways that you'll kind of find what works for you in terms of like how to keep in contact, whether I guess we live in such a digital world right now. So I feel like it's a lot easier than back in the days, even though I wasn't alive back in the days, but I know for sure, like, especially like, just simply using WhatsApp or FaceTime or just like keeping in contact with them, and you will find what works for you. But definitely be kind to yourself, because the first few days are going to be a little bit difficult when you just try to figure it out, but you will figure it out. So I'll go to the next question, and I guess I'll actually also I'll answer it, and then I'll pass it on to Tisha and Sebastian. So how did those of you not from Canada find the moving process? I haven't lived away from home, and what are some tips to make a new start in Fredericton? So yeah, definitely I was in the same boat, and I had never thought of moving outside of my home country until a month after I got accepted. So that's when I started thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to do this? So just to right off the bat to start with, I'll definitely, like, the tips that I can give you is make sure you bring something that reminds you of home. So for me, what I did, I brought a big, like a very obnoxious big, flag from my country, and I just pasted it on my wall in my residence room. And that kind of reminded me of back home and made me feel connected to my community, even though I wasn't there. So I definitely recommend packing things that, it reminds you of home, whether it's snacks or your favorite pillowcase or your favorite bedding or your teddy or something that reminds you of home. And I want to mention too that, like, I guess the moving process in terms of like just being in a new place and all of that, there was a lot of great support here at St. Thomas. So I just want to right off the bat mention that we do have an international student coordinator, Carrie, and she's amazing. So she literally will support you from the time you get accepted to the time you graduate. She was actually at my graduation, and she was very emotional because she's seen the whole process, and I'm sure she's like that with all her students, which is something really great. And you will, create your own community once you get here. And there are a lot of services, like I mentioned earlier, that are here to support students mentally and academically. So definitely never feel like you're alone. Homesickness will come at you, but like I said, you will have a lot of support systems here. So Tisha, do you want to kind of talk about your moving process and some tips?
So with my moving process as well, I feel like it's very similar to what, which I had also said. Honestly speaking, it might sound scary moving to a new country all by yourself, but I do promise you it does get easier like with time. And I feel like Stu has an amazing, community as well that supports students right from the airport. I got picked up from the airport and, came into campus. I got someone to help me settle down, moving. We actually got, Carrie actually took us out on our first week to the mall to buy everything we needed. So like there's always, a support system there for you. There was also like, group counseling where we had international students just, sit in a circle and we all just shared what we love most about home. And I would also definitely recommend taking something from home that you really like a picture. I brought like, a little frame that has a picture of my family and I put it right in my room. So yeah, it does get easier with time. And there's just an amazing, community ready to, help you just, get involved in the system.
Honestly, for me, the moving process, I thought it was going to be very hard, but once I arrived here at STU and I found out about all the services, like it was very easy. It was very smooth transition, I could call it. For example, I remember in my first week, I was like, okay, so I got to meet a lot of new people during the international orientation week there is. And as well, I could give you an advice as a current student, like take advantage of the welcome week, which is a week in which you're going to meet first years. Go talk to anyone, don't be afraid. That's, for example, how I created my friend group till this day. So, and you'll get to meet so many people that in some cases you won't even remember their names. So it's pretty nice, honestly. Like I feel like some tips could be for a new start would be, as Munchanera and Tisha mentioned, take something from home. And as well, like if you like talk to anyone, like just don't keep it to yourself, talk to your friends. That's the best advice I could give you, honestly.
Perfect. Yeah, well said. From somebody that didn't necessarily have to worry so much about the distance or anything like that, it's one of the nice things that's kind of embedded here at STU is just that idea of community. I would say is something that's probably a really common thing that people hear about, and it's kind of a true, I don't know, value almost that gets enacted here. People talk here. Whether you know somebody or not, if you're passing somebody and somebody opens a door for you, then you just kind of say thank you or good morning or good afternoon or whatever might be going on. If you see a professor passing you in the hallway or between classes, you might just say hi, how's your day going? It's very personable. So there's authentic kind of interest in people's days and how everyone's doing too. So just be an open book. That's probably the easiest way to kind of summarize a lot of that too. Actually, on the same note of kind of the moving process, probably more about like settling in. And honestly, this might be something that we can all answer. I'll start just because I have a live microphone right now, but we have someone asking, what is your favorite thing about Fredericton? It's probably going to be repetitive in certain cases, so I'll try and keep mine a little more thoughtful to not steal some of the better ones about Fredericton, because I know a couple people have some common ones. But I would say my favorite thing about Fredericton is it's kind of the focal point of what's a really neat network of trails and paved trails and a whole kind of walkway and bikeway of just kind of getting out to the outdoors. So if anybody likes just, going for walks or hikes or anything like that, Fredericton, as kind of highlighted by Muchinetta earlier on, has probably one of the more impressive walking and bike route systems in Canada. And I think it was rated one of the bike friendliest cities in North America or something like that this year. But along those trails is a really neat walking bridge. It's called the Bill Thorpe Walking Bridge. It crosses the St. John River right beside downtown. And it's got some gorgeous views of the city. I know people that watch fireworks from there. They'll watch the sunset there. They might go for a walk and have a picnic right on the green space right beside the river. So it's really easy to kind of just, if it's been a busy day or if you need a bit of separation, you can go for a walk for hours on end, pop in some headphones and put on a podcast or an album you might be listening to or something like that, and just kind of be able to disconnect. So that's probably my favorite thing about Fredericton, to be honest. So I hope I didn't steal anything, but we'll go Mooch and Etta, and then Tisha, and then Sebastian on favorite thing about Fredericton, if you can pick one.
Yeah, you didn't steal mine. Mine is just how friendly Fredericton is. And I think New Brunswick as a whole. Like I think I notice it only when I go back to my home country, where I'll hold the door for someone and then they'll look at me and be like, "Oh, are you okay? Like, why are you holding the door for me?" That's something that you'll see a lot here in Fredericton. People will hold the door for you even if you're like 10 feet away. You kind of have to like run a little bit to catch the door. But that's something very, very that I think is my favorite thing about Fredericton. People are so friendly. People will literally smile at you when you're standing in the line or a queue, or you're buying some snacks. Like people just are just so friendly, and I think it kind of makes you feel like you're part of the community as well, especially for us international students, where you're not from here, you're not born here, so you're like wondering if people will even notice that you're there. So definitely people notice that you're there and they really care and they're really friendly.
So also, I think my favorite thing about Fredericton has to be how accessible places are. Like, I promise you, you can literally walk anywhere you want to go to in Fredericton. Like, you don't have to do too much. Like, even if you take a drive, it's going to probably take you maximum of 15 minutes to wherever you're going to in Fredericton. So it's just easy to actually get around places. I mean, from campus, it's located in the central, I would say. So you can walk to the mall, to the market, anywhere you want to go to. And I say this because, I'm currently away from Fredericton, and anytime I, want to go out, I look on the map, I see it's like 2 hours away. I'm like, oh no. And I'm just used to, waking up and deciding to walk to wherever I want to go to. So that has been my favorite thing.
Honestly, I was going to say the same as Tisha, how things are very close. For example, you can be on campus and all of a sudden go to downtown in the matter of a 10-minute walk. It's not that far at all. But as well, something that I could say could be how the wide variety of restaurants you have to go at night with your friends. So that's honestly one of my favorite things. Like, you get like down in downtown, like there's a huge variety, and honestly I would recommend you like taking a quick walk at least when you come, hopefully.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll just go to the next question, and I'm going to direct this to Tisha because you mentioned you're doing a double major. So how exactly does a double major work? And does it take more time, and does it cost more money?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. So with the double major, it just means that you can actually major into more than 2 programs. So you could, pick 2 or more if you want to. So currently I'm doing a double major. It doesn't cost more money, which is great because, you're getting quality and you don't have to pay extra. And in terms of, time consuming, it doesn't actually take necessarily more time. It takes about the same time. You complete a double major within the same 4 years. But honestly speaking, I find that it's actually it's not much different from actually doing the single major. Only thing is you're taking, variety of classes, you're taking different classes. You still take the normal course load and you still, take the normal classes as other students. You just probably take more, different classes. Like you can be taking criminology and journalism while other students can be taking just journalism classes. So that's how it works. I honestly do enjoy it because, I get like a bit from, both worlds, and it's great. So yeah, I'll definitely recommend do a double major.
Yeah, that's so true. And I did one too. And it's not like you have to take extra courses like 6 or more per semester. You can literally take the 5 and still, finish your degree within the 4 years. Mike, did you want to add something? Your mic went on.
Oh no, I just clicked early because I was getting ready to ask another question. Are you still continuing the thought about double majors, and because I realize that you're more of a recent completer of a double major. So yeah, by all means. That being said too, Muchinetta raised a good point. If anyone's asking what the structure kind of looks like day to day, you can expect a typical week for a full-time student at St. Thomas. That would be about 5 classes a week. A lot of them might be a combination of a few on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. It might be a combination of a few on Tuesday and Thursday. But it is kind of nice. You get to build in more daytime, I would say, into your classes, as opposed to having class from depending on where you went to school, strictly 8 in the morning until 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and no breaks in between. You'll have some breaks. You'll have time to do work and actually work on things like your double major. On the academic side as well, we have another question here that I might direct to Sebastian for the time being, but we'll pause at the end in case Tisha wants to contribute anything to it too, just because I know that you both kind of have similar backgrounds and studies to some extent. But we have someone asking, what are some of the classes that you have enjoyed that might be related to a business or an economic related topic? So we'll start with Sebastian, and the door is open for you, Tisha, if you want to jump in there at the end.
Some of the classes that I've enjoyed the most, I think, is one of perspectives on under development. That class, honestly, like you get to understand like the cause of the problems in third world countries, most likely. As well, you get to see a little bit of theory. And something pretty cool is that I did an internship during the summer at a bank. So I was able to apply this knowledge into the knowledge I learned into the internship. So honestly, that would be one of my favorite classes. So you get to do like real life scenarios in your classes. So yeah.
Mooch, Nana, I will defer it back to you then.
Yeah, no worries. So the next question is, I know university might be a bit more of a challenge. Any advice on getting to know a professor or to make sure I'm doing well in class? And I'll give that to Tisha.
That's fine, I cannot guess. So honestly speaking, my number one tip with classes is always attend classes. Like that's one way to get to know professors, and also, speak in class as well. I mean, for me, where I come from, we typically don't like, speak in class. So coming here was kind of, surprising to me that you can actually speak in class and professors actually acknowledge what you do say. I know it might sound scary because you're not too sure, but I promise you, speak in class, professors are super nice, they're super understanding, they're always willing to, listen to what you have to say. Also, I would also say, attend office hours if you can. There's professors always have office hours. You could always, go there to speak to professors because sometimes you just have questions or something you're not so clear about. So I definitely recommend speaking to professors, attending office hours, and also, speaking to your peer groups and your classmates, and, just, being in class, trying to stay, present, and also, stay in constant communication with professors. And yeah, I feel like with that, you do great.
Yeah, I definitely agree on, just going to office hours. I feel like that's like the biggest tip that I can give you. I wasn't someone who usually put up their hand in class because I was very shy and reserved, but I'd always go to office hours, or I'd send an email to my professors. That way they still knew that I was actually interested in the course, as opposed to just like showing up and like not speaking to them. And that way too, like Tisha mentioned, professors really want to hear what you think. They really want to engage in conversations with you. So, you can kind of determine whether you want to do that in the classroom, or you want to go to office hours, or you just want to send them an email and be like, hey, this is what I thought about the reading. And they'll be more than happy to assist you. And just to talk a little bit of knowing if you're doing well in class, obviously approaching them would be like kind of like the best way. And like professors are really happy to give you feedback on any of the work that you've done for them. So do not worry too much about that one, but they're very approachable, like Tisha mentioned. So definitely don't feel afraid to, some of them will even tell you to address them by their first names. That's how personable they are. So yeah. And I've used some of my professors to apply for jobs, but also, small things like an apartment where I needed a reference. So they really are well-rounded. So, like I said, some of them would tell you, hey, just call me by my first name. So, and like Tisha too, and culture-wise, like we're not allowed to like address an older person by name. So that was also an adjustment for me. But like I said, like they'll tell you to do it. So yeah. So yeah, we'll move on to the next questions. So I'm thinking of possibly doing law school later on. Should I pursue criminology or human rights instead? So yeah, this is a question that my favorite question, because I am hoping to go to law school later on. But to get a law degree, you essentially do not need to do any sort of prior degree before that. So law school is a postgraduate degree. So your undergrad degree does not have to be in anything related to law. They usually recommend that you do something that you're interested in, something you're passionate about, because obviously you're going to do it for 4 years, and then you'd apply for your law school degree. Law schools don't look at, whether you've done something related to the law. I just did criminology and criminal justice and human rights because that's something I'm really passionate about and interested in. But I have peers that did like fine arts, so like music, for example. So the biggest tip that I can give you, I guess, is just to do programs that you're interested in, and you're good. So yeah, we'll move on to the next question, which is what do language courses look like in university? I might think of wanting to learn a new language. And I'm going to pass that on to Sebastian.
I'm currently, as I mentioned, minoring in Italian, and honestly, I feel that was one of the best choices I made. I received an advice from a per year student during my first year, and they told me like, yeah, take Italian. It's super worth it. And honestly, it is. It is. I like it because the professor makes it simple. Like, first you learn how to conjugate verbs. Like it's you're taking like baby steps, and in the way you're like when you take, for example, intermediate courses, you're taking like what you learned in the previous courses. It's very nice, honestly, how you're able to mix those courses. And as well, for certain languages, there's even like some tutoring sessions offered for students to practice more. So honestly, I would encourage you to learn a new language if you have the opportunity to do so.
Oh, certainly. If anything, too, this might be neat to know just for anybody, depending on what kind of language background you already have. Like, there's plenty of language courses, and even some of the departments, there might be courses that are instructed in English, and then you're actually learning about like the culture. So there's a kind of a balance of the two. What might be a fun tip too for anybody wondering like what languages might be easier to learn than others. They're all languages, so they're all going to be kind of difficult. But I know that sometimes from people's experiences and from friends and whatnot. Let's say if you happen to know French or Spanish or something that's kind of got a bit of a Romance language origin to it, a lot of those have very similar structures in a way. Like French and Spanish are surprisingly closer in composition and in verbs and pronouns and that kind of thing than comparing them directly to English. So because of that, Italian kind of so depending on what kind of languages you already know, there might be some that are a bit quicker to pick up, which is kind of a neat thing when you actually get to learn about other languages that you wouldn't have learned otherwise until getting somewhere like Stu. I know that there's been involvement in both of our panelists here for this. So we have someone asking, are there business clubs on campus? And there certainly is one. So I will go to, let me think. Sebastian, you're involved in Enactus, right? Tisha, have you done Enactus too? In which case, I'll start with Tisha on this a little bit to speak to your experience in Enactus too. And then Sebastian, I know that the experiences can be different for a lot of people. So at least start with Enactus, and then if there's other opportunities that you want to bring up, you can go from there. But we'll start with Tisha and then we'll go back to Sebastian.
Hey, so as a business student, obviously there are so many clubs on campus, but I think Enactus would be the closest, club to business and entrepreneurship. So very quickly, Enactus too is, the Enactus version, in St. Thomas University that focuses on entrepreneurship and business and, equips you with skills and, knowledge to actually run a business and also volunteer in the society. So very much recently, I was the VP marketing for Enactus and I tried for that as well. But now I'm currently a general member, which is actually equally fun as well. So with Enactus, you have experience, you participate in different activities, different volunteer opportunities, events as well. We recently had our team go all the way to Toronto to nationals to actually participate. So with Enactus, I'll definitely recommend students to actually join Enactus because it just opens so much pathway for students. There's so much to learn. There's also marketing classes, budgeting classes, and so much stuff that you can learn and also do as well. So yeah.
Apart from what Tisha just said as well, something pretty good about Enactus in overall is you have the opportunity to become a project manager, which is the case that you create your own project. There are various projects as well in which you can assist. I'm currently the VP of finance, and I've been able to get to know like how each project there is, they try to get like have a positive impact on the Fredericton community in overall. So, and something as well that I like the most is you're able to have you have direct contact with Enactus Canada, which is an organization. We have our own advisor. So honestly, I would definitely encourage you to join Enactus.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So the next question is, any advice on how to deal with seasons changing and climate in Canada? So this is a very good question. And I think when I was applying to STU, I did not even do research in terms of like how cold it gets or how warm it gets. I just applied and I showed up. But it's a gradual thing, right? So it doesn't just start snowing and you're like freezing. It's a gradual thing where we go into fall, where it starts getting a little chilly. And then you would get to the winter semester. I definitely recommend, bringing things that you can layer. And then you can buy your winter jacket and winter boots once you get here. Just that way you're making sure that the winter boots and winter coat are for conditions of the winter here. Because if you're like, from an African country, the winter does not get as that cold, and other parts of the world either as well. It doesn't get that cold. So definitely don't buy a winter jacket or boots there. Buy that when you get here, but bring stuff that you can layer on. And a cool thing that kind of ties into another question that I saw as to like what the International Student Union group does. They actually hosted in collaboration with the Student Union at STU a clothing swap, so it's just like a winter warm up to help international students, especially first years and incoming students who are experiencing winter for the first time. They had a winter warm up where they're exchanging like winter coats and stuff like that. And you will have upper year students as well, like upper year international students that can definitely guide you in terms of like ensuring that you're buying winter coats that are going to be warm enough for you. So it's a gradual thing, like I said. So as soon as you land here, it's not going to be cold. It's going to be just the end of summer, starting to get to fall. So don't worry about having to have everything figured out by the time you land. And I don't know if you want to speak to your experience, Sebastian, on how to adapt to the changing season.
Honestly, my best advice is buy your winter coat in here. That was one advice as well I got from upper year students. And it was a great idea because like what they sell in here, it's for this winter. It's not like Muchanera mentioned, the winter we have in our home countries. Is as well, I would recommend you to take advantage of an event the international office always hosts, which is called the Winter Warm Up. So you're able to get free jackets, free gloves, anything you need. So yeah, the university as well at least offers you this opportunity. So take advantage as well of it.
Wonderful. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about Canadian winter. It comes and goes. That's one of the many nice things about this part of the world, is that we really have I'll call it dramatic way of taking on the four seasons. So yeah, it's really great in the summertime. It definitely gets warm, depending on where you might be joining us from. Humidity aside, maybe not as warm as a regular summer day or spring day, depending on where you're joining us from. But either way, a lot of our temperatures will be getting into the 20s and 30s. It might be a bit of a unique day for us if we reach the 40s in the Fredericton area, but it happens every now and then. And then yeah, you get to see the leaves change color in the fall. Really gorgeous. The picture that Muchanetta showed already was kind of a marquee of that. But don't worry, the buildings, if you ever take a campus tour, you will find out that the buildings are close enough that it doesn't really make for that long of a walk between classes or even from residence or anything like that. We have a couple of questions still, and that being said, we won't be able to get to everything. So I'll fast track a couple that are just quick yes or no's that I can tell you right now, and then I will direct an actual question here. So we have someone asking about the fitness facilities, the gym facility. Can anyone use that, or is it just for sports personnel? The good news is that is of free access to any St. Thomas student. The JB O'Keefe Fitness Center is located right next door to our Van Yale Hall residence building too. So yep, for classes going on in there, for any of the equipment, even some of the court space, that is welcome for use when it's available to students. So yeah, not to worry about that. That being said, we also have someone asking about performing arts clubs like dancing, etc. Absolutely. We're going to actually have a session later on this year about different things related to clubs and societies. Performing arts is a really big part of what makes St. Thomas great. There are opportunities in the classroom for credit. There's opportunities outside of the classroom if you're into musical theater, drama, plays, kind of earlier pieces, things that are a little more upbeat, a little more downbeat, whatever your interest is, university level drama performing, more than enough opportunity here. And we'll definitely give that more attention when we get to a session that's dedicated to that. So we might actually close on one more question here. And let's see, I would say that, oh, this is tricky. There's a number of good ones. Okay, so we have a couple that have already asked about this. So I will combine it into one and I will round table it to let everybody close on this. That being said, this is not the last time you'll ever have to hear from us. We'll keep in touch over email, over our Unibuddy chat, over any future virtual events, campus tours, you name it, we can chat further. But in closing, this might be a fair way to close, and we will probably start. I'll just start because, again, my microphone is on, and then we'll go to Muchinetta, then Tisha, and then Sebastian to close. That being said, if you see us helping type answers to questions on the side between myself and Muchinetta, we're just trying to answer some of your questions where we can. So the closing question, I guess, we'll use to wind down here before we thank everybody for joining us. What is your favorite thing about STU? So I will start. I would say that my favorite thing about STU is, again, community is kind of broad to put it in this case, but I would say just relationships. That's probably one of the things that makes STU so unique. And again, it's the same way that Muchinetta has already addressed kind of that awkward bump of getting to have to call a professor by their first name if they really prefer that. They're not all going to prefer that by any means, but seeing students have more of a mentor-like relationship with their professors is a really neat opportunity. And it's something that you really don't see in many places, but seeing a student and their professor walking and talking over coffee, that's really something that's not uncommon to see here. Students having dinner at their professor's house, or getting to meet their family or pet their dog because they brought their dog to a class or something like that. It's a really fun, dynamic learning environment. And when we have some of the smallest classes at the university level in Canada, it really makes it accessible to get more invested in the classroom. So when Tisha and Sebastian have both been saying, just like get to class, get to know people like that. The relationships are just going to come to you. So I would say the relationships are probably one of the best things about STU. But I hope that didn't take too much from everybody. But yeah, we'll go Muchinetta and then Tisha and Sebastian.
Yeah, I'll just keep mine short. Mine is essentially actually the reason why I chose St. Thomas. So really, I wanted a place where there was community, and you will find that a lot here at St. Thomas. So I didn't want to go to university where I was just going to be a number, where nobody would know me, where I was not going to be able to make connections or relationships, as Mike mentioned. So really, that's actually the reason that I chose STU, because I wanted to come to a university where I could easily adapt, especially coming from the other side of the world. I wanted to come to a place where there was a sense of community. So that's my favorite thing.
My favorite thing about STU has to be the fact that, honestly speaking, STU is a small university with, lots of opportunities. I'm in my second year, and being a second year student, I've done so much I didn't think I'll be able to do. I've done internships, I've met amazing people, I've met friends, I've made family at STU. So there's just so much you could get from STU, and I would just like to encourage people to just always maximize the experience, because there's just so much to get out. There's so many resources also there, and so many people on campus as well there to support you. So I think that's my favorite thing about STU. Literally so many opportunities and so much stuff you can do.
I guess my favorite thing about STUing overall are the student services, because each one of them is key to your student life, and sometimes you don't even notice them. For example, the student success coach, Kath, she helps you with time management, test taking tips, note taking tips, everything. Then the experiential learning office with the internship. So there are various student services that are super helpful, and just take advantage of them.
Perfectly said. In which case, yeah, we have passed the hour, so we are going to wrap up here. And again, apologies if we did not have a chance to get to your question, but a couple of prompts, as Muchinetta already kind of brought up, but again, it doesn't hurt to bring back up. Somebody actually I did notice said, how can I apply? you can apply today, even if you want. I know that sounds a little cliche, but you can visit stu.ca, even stu.ca/apply 2023. Even just getting to stu.ca, it's pretty tough to miss getting started in the application process. That being said, if you have any questions about it, admissions at stu.ca is a great way to get in touch with us with any general questions about anything related to the academic process, the application process, or even next steps on top of that. Or international at stu.ca as well, if you've already made contact through that means. That being said, we also have other means of kind of getting a sense of what's going on campus. Plenty of dates and deadlines and updates related to the admission process and scholarships, bursaries, all of that good stuff. But it's kind of a neat way to get a fly on the wall perspective of what day-to-day things look like on campus too. So we are present on a lot of the major social media networks. That being said, Muchinette has already brought this up too, but it doesn't hurt to bring it up one last time. Next Saturday is our virtual fall open house. So if you want to have that opportunity, similar to this, to hear from additional current students, hear from faculty members, I think at this point we have a pretty good range of faculty coming from a lot of different departments, whether it's more related to certain social sciences, humanities, any kind of outcomes you're looking for. We're probably going to have our bases covered there. Sebastian already mentioned this. If you want to see some of these wonderful people that are behind the scenes for our student services team, they will be there too. You'll be able to hear from residents, like you'll be obviously able to hear from us at admissions. But there's going to be a lot of representation. It'll be a couple hours in length too. So if you need to kick back and watch it from wherever feels comfortable for you, I can assure you it is a bit of a can't miss opportunity when it comes to virtual events. Probably one of the bigger ones of the year. So I definitely recommend joining for that. But that being said, I want to extend a big kudos and thank you to our wonderful MC Muchinetta here. Even in the midst of traveling across Canada and even at times potentially around the world, still making it all come together perfectly. So again, thank you so much, Muchinetta, for serving as a wonderful host and MC for this. That being said, I also want to extend my thanks to Sebastian and Tisha, who are in the midst of their reading week right now. So plenty of things that they could be doing to kind of recoup and relax and recover, but they took time out of their evenings to take part in this again. So, and then the final thanks obviously would go to those of you that have been in attendance, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or some blending combo of one of those options. We really do appreciate your questions and for you to make the time. But otherwise, that being said, again, feel free to keep in touch, keep signing up for these virtual events, sign up for virtual tours, meetings, whatever you need to do, but we're happy to keep in touch. So with that, we wish you a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, depending on where you're joining. But once again, thank you and take care, everyone.